Welcome to Bay Rats and Buoys Season 2 with your host, Captain Gaige.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. I'm your host, Captain Gaige. This is episode number 48, Season 2, On the Boat. Brought to you in part by Cito Huntington. Are you a member? Visit Cito.com to join today. And the Fisherman Magazine, my favorite subscription to get in the mail. And Clicks Fueling. Visit clicksfueling.com. What's going on, guys? Episode number 48. The sun is shining. The wind died down. This is a great window of opportunity to get out there and catch some fish. And how you guys doing? So we got some good comments over the last episode and some funny comments, whether it be on Facebook or YouTube. You guys are awesome. So thanks for tuning in. And my apologies to those of you that listen to the audio version. Because believe it or not, guys, we're in 5 countries and over 50 cities where it's being listened to on a regular basis. And I got to say, the audio version has huge popularity in Brooklyn. And west of us, Manny, they're even west of you. But Brooklyn and then Port Washington is the second best out of the West. So thanks to you guys. We appreciate you listening in every week. But I did put the audio version up late. I totally fucked up and forgot all about the MP3 version of the podcast. I put the video up. I put it up early. I got it out on Facebook. Even when you think you're doing good, you screw something up. We all screw up, so at least I admit it. I love admitting when I screw up, So, sorry to the guys that listen to the audio version. If you do listen to the audio version, there is a video version of this podcast of me sitting on the Hydra yacht here in Huntington Harbor in the sun, blue skies, boat zipping by, and a great way to bring in the fall, but it is not over yet. This is still summer 2025. And believe it or not, we were just starting to get into the bass. Last year, again, around this time, there were nice bodies of fish that moved into the area, and we were out there jigging them up. It was a great day. I love when I get those, when I post something and I get those memories where it says a year ago, this is what happened. So I love when I see that. It reminds me, but I scroll through the phone and look at the dates. So that's a good way to, keep track with a video and a phone diary of everything that you do. And you take a few pictures out there and you know what you did on September 9th. And it's able to look back, take a look, see what fish we were catching. So I got to shout out to some of the guys that made some comments because some of them were real funny. In fact, I didn't write the name down. I don't have the name down from Facebook. One of the comments asked me if I would take a Pepsi distributor out on my boat. And I said, absolutely, 100% I would. He would have to watch me drink Diet Cokes all day. But I definitely would take somebody that works for Pepsi out on the boat. I don't hate any of the companies. I'm just favoring drinking one of them. And truth be told is, you go to a restaurant, not everybody has Diet Coke. So there's times where they're going to serve me a Diet Pepsi. It's going to happen. And it's just how it is. Can't always have it. I do always have the cooler, so we could just reach into the cooler right now. Even, thanks to my daughter, she saw these cans, and she was like, Dad, how do you not have these cans? And I said, I got them now. And I usually get the small, skinny ones, right? They make my hands look big. And then we saw these big, slim wave ones. And I say that because Slim Wave is one of my favorite rods. That is, we go real light tackle on the boat a lot of the times, And Slim Wave happens to be one of my favorite real light rods. Handles any fish out here. We had a group of guys on the boat, and 2 of them were freshwater fishermen from Pennsylvania. They were guests of somebody here in Huntington. And he reeled in a 39-inch bass on my Slim Wave rod, and with a Black Max reel. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy. $180 setup. Nothing crazy. But, he got the job done, and he knew how to play the fish and, not try to horse it in. And he did a great job, and we have a great video of it. And I'll show you here. So I mentioned Slim Wave. The can looks like Slim. Slim Jim. So, Frank, you mentioned something cool in the comment, too, about you practice. You pick up, you said I touched base on the bunker, the lantern flies, and lots of garbage in the water, and that you practice man overboard drills when you go to recover a balloon. And to me, that's pretty cool. I used to train the members at the Freedom Boat Club, and they would join the club, and I would have to take them out for 3 hours and train them. And seriously, what are you learning in an hour of docking, an hour and a half out on the water, and then coming back and practicing something, for a short period of time? You're not learning a lot, How much are you going to retain is my point. But one of the things that I did do is took them in and taught them how to do a shallow water drill and get into shallow water and don't make a U-turn. Lift your engine up a little bit, put it in reverse, and follow your bubbles out because your engine made some bubbles going in. And if you just back out and follow those bubbles, you'll follow the same line that got you in there. You're not going to turn around into anything and hopefully run aground. But don't juice it in reverse, because putting it in reverse, you will pull the boat down lower, and that's when you could suck up something into the impeller and run aground. So there were a few do's and don'ts with that drill. I'm not teaching you everything there by saying that. But my point is I would also teach them a man overboard drill by throwing the Type 4 throw cushion overboard. And, people didn't realize, wind's going one way, current's going another. All of a sudden, you see that drifting in a certain direction. And I would ask them to just go over and, see how they would react, so I could teach them what they did wrong and show them the proper procedure and, make sure when you get the person close to the boat that you're pulling the lanyard so there's no risk of anybody starting the engine while somebody's back there by the prop. All right, it's bad enough that prop can cut you and hurt you just from moving with the current. So I like that you practice your man overboard drills, because I bet you that's something that a lot of people out there do not know, and they haven't practiced. What are you doing when somebody, you got a man overboard? You don't just drive over to them. So you got to figure out, you got to drive into the wind because you want the wind to stop you, not blow you over them. And, there's a certain technique that you do. And, I would just recommend people go look it up, because for me to teach you here with no diagrams, no anything, it's a lot easier to teach somebody in person, especially with the man overboard drill, So I like that, Frank, that you practice man overboard drills picking up balloons. Speaking of my son, he is huge on picking up plastic and balloons and stuff when we're out there. He's like, there's a balloon, because he gets the gaff out. I got a couple of gaffs on the boat, and it's a shame we don't get to gaff more fish and go blue fishing and catch big gator blues and gaff more fish around here that we could use for shark bait and stuff like that. We are seeing some blues, but my point was about the gaffs. I have a hockey stick gaff that Corey turned one of my hockey sticks into a perfect size gaff. Now, I have a longer gaff because you got to have a long gaff too, obviously. But the short gaff, I absolutely love it. Give me a second. I'll see if I can grab it for you guys. There's my baby. Nice carbon fiber. Real light stick. And he wrapped it real nice. He did a nice job. He matched the paracord under the epoxy to match the red stick. And again, you can see it's a worn-out stick. It was used. Used it. And when it breaks, when a $330 stick breaks, you turn it into a fish gaff. That's what you do. Because hockey sticks are ridiculously expensive. Just like everything else, just like fishing rods. Why are they so expensive? Why does everything on a boat have to be so expensive? Because it's on a boat. And there you go. So I keep the cut out of the pool noodle on there just so anybody hits it with their ankles down there or bumps into it with their feet, they're not getting a gaff in the ankle or hitting them in the leg. That could take the fun out of fishing when you got to break out the first aid kit. I'm glad we haven't ever, knock on wood, had to do that. I usually knock on my head when I got to knock on wood. And some of the other comments. I mean, Craig, you know, you made a funny comment because I called you at 8 o'clock at night telling you somebody backed their trailer up over the ramp and broke their axle off and needed a tow truck. And, you know, if I got to tow my car or my truck, everything goes to Craig. Craig's Garage in Northport, best mechanic in the world. So I reached out to him and I said, shoot me some numbers for your tow guys so I could reach out to one or two of them and see if we can get anybody. And he did. And one of them responded, and, that's how you help people. That's how we come together to help people. I got a call from Mike this week. His boat's broken down in, just a town over. And him and Jason are looking to get back out here on some blackfish with us. We're going to get out on some bass this week, no doubt about it. And a couple of the other comments with snappers. And I know we had I wrote some of them down. I did bring some of them with me today. We had gators from Hempstead Harbor and fishing for some of the snappers over there. Now, the snappers in my area, I was going to bring the rod down and throw it out right here and just pull up a snapper and show you while I'm sitting here podcasting because they're jumping around in here. But, they're, like we caught them as kids. They were small. They're all tiny. And then the Animal Center, you know something? Animal Center brought up a good point. Because last week I talked about the northeast wind, and wind out of the east is least. And he said it's also called a whiskey wind. And really not mixing my whiskey with Diet Coke. But when there's a northeast wind, people go to the bar. And that is why they call it a whiskey wind. And it makes sense. And I like it. And who else do we forget? Anybody else? And it was Kevin that made the snapper comments. And Kevin, the snappers are everywhere right now. We were catching them as a bycatch, too, out there. Sometimes you could use them as bait, Put them down for a nice size fluke this time of the year. And like I said, the big fluke are in deeper water. We caught a ton of fluke. Past couple of charters we went out, we caught a ton of fluke. Everything was short where we were, but we weren't trekking into the deep waters. All right, we were doing a lot of cocktail blues and a lot of big porgies, and it was a good mix for their mixed bag black sea bass. I mean, they were 15 inches, so even when you were getting a bycatch of a black sea bass, they were 15 inches. They weren't knuckleheads, but we weren't heading into sea bass holes and targeting just sea bass because that's what we like to do. When you go for the one fish, like me and Tony from the kitchen, captain of the kitchen. You were all excited. You knew I was all excited about last week, heading out Thursday, going to go out. Finally got a day for myself, going to go venture out. We did 45 nautical miles. So when we decided to stop the boat at the first fishing grounds where we got to, and it was just a matter of seconds. I don't even think minutes. It was a matter of seconds. I just grabbed one of the 3 or 4 rods that were tied up, ready to go, and 15-pound fluorocarbon on them, decent-sized leader, and threw right into the Spanish Max. So, minute I stopped the boat, it was because nickname captain of the kitchen, Jojo Napoli, his other nickname is Tony Eyes. And Tony Eyes saw them jumping out of the water. And when he saw them jumping out of the water, I got right on them, threw right into them, and hooked up instantly. It was first cast. I mean, I probably threw it into his mouth. I mean, that's how good it was. It was like throw, boom, on. And at least we had the GoPro rolling so we could videotape some of it. But again, it's fun when you go to target specific species and you head out and, it's the first fish that you catch. And especially when it's something like a Spanish Mac, that's not something that, everybody goes out and can target and hit right away, And... we didn't find any bonito and we didn't get any albies that morning. But the weather started to turn. And like I said, we did 45 nautical miles. So we headed back in once that wind started to kick up. And we saw the water starting to get choppy. You can stay out there, you can get your ass kicked. Doesn't matter what boat you're in, what ocean, where you're going. If you stick around too long into a certain wind direction, there's a good chance you can get your ass kicked. So we avoided that and headed back in. We had an epic morning, and we caught a ton of cocktail blues, a couple of Spanish Macs. You'll see here in the video, sitting up on the bow talking about it, and we had a great time listening to the Rat Pack. And, I love that about the boat is that we accommodate, because, being a DJ for so long, it was it's still in my blood. I mean, even my truck, I get my truck, the songs are, it's the first thing I'm doing before I drive away. It's like, all right, let's get couple songs ready. And working on taking music off the hard drive, putting it on a little USB stick and organizing it all so I could just stick that USB stick into the truck and boom, I got my music. I got my XM satellite, I got the Pandora, all the garbage, and that they're going to play. Man, let me tell you, it was torture watching the football game because of all the commercials. And I got to say, it's probably the reason I record the hockey games is so I could just watch 20 minutes, and scan through the intermissions and any of the commercials and the bullshit. It's easy to scan through, fast forward. And I hate when I sit and watch a college football game or an NFL game for a little while and you get clobbered. An NFL game is 3 hours long. It's 2.5 hours. It's only 15 minutes of playtime because each play is 6 seconds long. So you're watching it takes you 2.5 hours to watch a 15-minute game. And where, at least in hockey, they can go without blowing a whistle for 7-8 minutes. Easily. Anyway, I'm just a big hockey guy. I like hockey a little bit more. So, I showed you some of the lures last week that we were going to use, that we were going to throw. And now I'm going to show you the one that crushed it. And it was a tsunami. It was a hardtail snack, hardtail candy. I think they nicknamed it. And we took a bunch of these out there. These were the ones. This is what I threw first. I threw that first, and this absolutely crushed it. And you know where I got them? I got them over at High Hook. And I showed you the wall in last week's video. Just a short little, glimpse of it. I didn't go crazy. I did show you some of the glass minnows. I had those tied on too. And JoJo Napoli, Tony, was throwing something different and hooking up just the same. You know what I mean? But this thing was getting demolished by both Spanish Max and Blues and Black Sea Bass. You could jig these things, It's great. You see a lot of fish on the screen. Just drop down to the bottom and crank it up and give it a few yo-yos off the bottom, and usually that's when it's going to get hit, close to the bottom. So, those things kick butt. And last week I told you about the rust remover that I use that I absolutely love from West Marine. I'm going to show you one more product because a lot of us get this. Some people have bottom painted above the boot stripe, above the waterline, I should say, and then they have a boot stripe, which I don't have a boot stripe on my boat, but I will next year. And you get that water line where you get some of the discolored water from sitting in the, water in the back of the boat and on the side of the boat. And you can't use on-off. You use on-off when it's out of the water. You're not going to put that acid into the water, so you want something that's a non-acid hull cleaner. Meets EPA, safer choice, direct release criteria. And here it is. Booyah. Booyah. So it's a great name. Love it. Spray this stuff on. You really don't have to hit it with a brush, but I do because I like to just get that deeper clean. But you spray this on, let it sit there, you can hose it off, and boom, away goes that grim, disgusting, brown, green colored that you got all over the hull of your boat. And, once I clean this, it's night and day. But again, most people do the bottom paint a little higher and then do the boot stripe above that, and you can eliminate that. So, there's a couple of different ways, a couple of different opinions people have, different ways to do it. But if you need to clean your hull, this stuff actually is fantastic. So every week I'll recommend a few different things to you, whether it be some lures, some products. And, when you get down to your boat, we love to throw, bags together and get things. So we just carry, 1 or 2 bags. Obviously, I got my Yeti. We know what's in the Yeti. I'm hearing so many comments. Everywhere I go, I'm hearing Diet Coke comments. I really am. It's becoming comical to the point where I might have to wear a Diet Coke shirt for one episode. And again, I didn't even really, pick a wardrobe out today for the show. I just came down and said, you know what, it's a good day to get it done. My Plano bag. This Plano bag goes with me on my commercial towboat and on the Hydra yacht. I do have to replace this one clip but I really don't, because the one that I clip it onto, I'm like really in a habit now that if that's locked, there's nothing happening. I'm not losing anything, but there's a reason why I don't care if this isn't locked. Because this drawstring right here keeps anything and everything from coming out. The bag's upside down right now, and nothing's coming out of this bag. So if it does fall over on the boat, you don't have to worry about your stuff spilling out all over the place. And I absolutely love this drawstring. And I love the Plano bag itself. I really do. It's waterproof. It's got some pockets on the outside. It's got pockets. You want to throw a few phone wires in there. There's your typical Type-C. And there's the Yeti. There's the lubricant for the zipper. Got to keep the zippers nice. Even on all the bags, any of the bags that I have, I hit the zippers with that lubricant, and it definitely helps. Because anything out here in the saltwater, everything gets abused. So there you have it. I absolutely love it. I mean, it's even got a rod holder here on the side, which I've never used because I'm not putting a rod there. Corey carries the rods down to the boat. I mean, I'm going with Tony. It's me and Tony. Obviously, I'm carrying the rods down to the boat. I'm just saying. I wouldn't be putting a rod in this rod holder over here, but some of you might have a reason to. There you have it. Love it. I absolutely love this bag. Waterproof. You can squirt it with the hose. You can drop it down in the puddle of water. Doesn't matter. So none of my stuff has ever gotten wet or ruined in that bag. And you got the GoPros. You have cameras. You throw phones. You got your binoculars. You got everything you need in that bag. Battery chargers. So I always have a bag packed ready to go. I even have a bag packed under the back seat of the truck with a change of clothes and stuff because, man, we got caught in an absolute torrential downpour here the other day. And we knew it was coming. We watched it coming. You heard the wind whistling and it was howling and you saw the dark clouds moving in. I look at the radar. I see what's coming. But we had a little boat project going on over here at the dock, and we were getting somebody's boat in, pulling it up onto the mud in low tide, pulling a plug, and just seeing if we could figure out where the water was. And, it was a project that we had to sit around and actually do. So we got it done, and I got poured on. So you know what I did? I took out the camera, took out the phone, because the phone is, the iPhones now, pretty much waterproof. Don't drop them in the water thinking that they're GoPros and they go down to 30 feet, because that's not the kind of waterproof that I'm talking about. And I videotaped standing in the rain. And it was pretty good. It actually came out great. The sound, the audio was incredible on it. I was pretty amazed that the new iPhone 16 did such a good job. And then when me and Tony were out there, a lot of times the GoPro, you could zoom in afterwards. You're shooting in 4K, you could zoom in because the image is big enough so you could pull into it and zoom in. So a lot of times when I get the birds working, I don't want to go disturb what's going on because you're going to want to throw into it. But we got close enough with the boat that we were just drifting into it. And as we were drifting into it, the birds just kept coming at us and closer. And here I was standing on the bow using the phone to record some of that. And all the birds are flying in the same direction, which was kind of cool. But they were only working rain bait. You weren't seeing any tail splashes, anything crazy. You're going to get fooled by that a few times this year. You may get over there and throw in and find out it's some cocktail blues, because that's what's pushing them up these days. The Spanish mackerel, when we got it on the boat, you hit those things in the mouth. They bleed hard. They bleed pretty bad, and this blood's everywhere, right? So Tony runs to the front of the boat, and it's splashing around back here, making a mess. I got the towels out right away. I try to wipe as much as I can, but it must have spit out like 10 spearing, and there were like 10 silversides on the boat. I picked them all up, and I kind of put them in a line. They were still alive. He was just feeding on them. That's why he went after this instantly. I mean, he hit this instantly. I'm not even kidding. It hit the water, boom, fish on. So that's why we matched the hatch. But you could see the spearing here on the boat because I did shoot it with a little bit of a little video just to show you what they were feeding on and why we threw what we threw. And, there's a reason to it all. And we were tied up and ready to go before we left. However, I only had one of these on the boat. Now I got a whole bunch more because when something works, I'll pick up a bunch of them. Okay, that's just how I am. And like I tell all you guys, you got to go support your local shops. That's what you got to do. And I went in last week and made a video at High Hook showing you some of the stuff. I heard comments from people that I ran into. They were like, hey, nice video. And I just went in with a GoPro. I didn't go in and film a production and do anything crazy. I was just showing you guys what I'm walking into and where I'm going to go get it. You sponsor the tournament. You do the right thing by the tournament. We do, we reciprocate. Just like Matt over at J&M Seafood. I can't wait to get the thumbs up to release the news and break some big news for J&M Seafood. I really can't. That's going to be exciting. It's right about now. It's coming down to it. I may stop at his shop on the way back from the marina here today because I do have the GoPros and fresh batteries and whatnot. I might stop in there and just do a little film and start showing you guys and promote the people that helped with the tournament. We do have 4 weeks away. We are 4 weeks away from the 1-year anniversary for Bay Rats and Buoys. We have the fishing club coming up in 2026. I told you every week we're excited, moving forward with the boat show. Some big things happening there. We're already starting to reach out to other companies because before you know it, it's January. We're in September now. It's going to be mid-September, and it's mid-October. You got Halloween coming down the pipeline. We get all these holidays forced down. You get into the stores now, you see everything Halloween, and you're like, wait a second, it was still August when I was seeing Halloween stuff. So, if you guys want to have a Halloween parade with your boat in this area, shoot me a message. We only need like 10 participants to make it successful and have fun and just cruise down the harbor and let everybody know prior to that we're coming and doing, and some of the yacht clubs and the marinas, and we could put out some flyers for the people and anybody that wants to decorate their boat, because that's probably the more fun part to it is everybody decorates their front lawns and their houses and all that fun stuff. But it could be kind of fun to decorate the boats and make pirates and do some really cool pirate skulls and that kind of stuff, or not. You know what I mean? It's all up to you guys. It's not up to me. I could just throw the ideas out there, and if you guys want to get involved, we make it happen. That's how simple it is. And that's how you start stuff. You throw it out there. I threw out there, hey, what do you think about hosting a tournament? And it was like, okay. All the check boxes met, and we said, okay, we're doing it. And I told you last week when I was going out, I couldn't go Wednesday and Thursday because Wednesday I have obligations for the radio contracts. That Corey was heading offshore with Scott, and he landed I think it was a 120-pound sword. So everybody's sleeping at nighttime, and he's manning the rods and keeping the bait in the hopper and letting the bait get out there all night long. And he was rewarded by reeling in what turned out to be the biggest sword that they had caught on that boat to date. So 120-pound swordfish, pretty big swordfish. I'll show you in the picture here. And they had a ton of tuna. The bite was great. And if you want to know where they went, I'll send you to Latin longitude. Yeah. You got to love when people ask you, where were you? Where'd you go? Just like when we'll show the videos. A lot of times we show you the videos, you're seeing the, view of the fish in the water. We're trying for good reason not to give away. And it's not a matter of spot burning. It's just a matter of just how you're supposed to present it to the people when you show it on social media. It's the right way to do it. And, could you burn a spot? Oh, yeah. If I told people where to go this weekend, they would all be there. It's a good chance. But it was real nice when we pulled up to the spot and they were jumping out of the water. That's when the captain's log is worthy of its dates, its times, its tides, and the bite, and what's going to be there. And it was a lot of fun. It really was. Fun fishing with you. Listening to the Rat Pack, Mr. Jojo Napoli. And we're going to start picking people that comment. Everybody that comments on the videos, you are going to have a chance not only to win, you're automatically entered into the anniversary raffle in 4 weeks, but you're also going to have a chance just by commenting on the videos, whether it be Facebook, YouTube. And I got to check the comments via Amazon Music and Spotify in the audio version of the podcast. I don't even think I've looked into any of that. I really am focused on Facebook and YouTube as far as my daily what I do, so and what's on my website. So I got to check the audio versions as well, if there can be comments and if there are any, because you guys will be entered as well. But I do recommend you heading over to the YouTube version of this, commenting in the YouTube video, and you will automatically be entered. I'm going to start inviting you guys that do comment out onto the boat to come fish with me and Corey, or just me. However, we arrange it on whatever day it is. So we're excited for that because we are making a lot of new friends. We got Manny from the West. I'm not leaving anybody out. There's a ton of names to drop. And, but I do always have to mention Manny from the West because it's become a thing here. And now there's people west of him that I need to thank and say, what's up, Brooklyn? We got BK in the house. Let's go. So I did live in Sheepshead Bay at one point in my life. I moved out of Manhattan. At an early age, I left Northport and moved to East 31st between 3rd and Lex in the Windsor Court building. And there'll be an episode where I break down why I made that move and what I was doing. It's an awesome story. It's an awesome past part of my life that led to a lot of great things. And it was a fun career and fun stuff that I did, without a doubt. And people can't believe it when they hear the story. So I'm going to have to dive deep into that, but that's not for episode 48, because now we're 4 weeks away from our 1-year anniversary, guys. Can you believe it? We're almost at 52 weeks of sitting on the back of this boat and a few in the studio throughout the cold season. And wait till you see the new upgrades and stuff that we did in the studio for the off season and for the boat show. That was the real reason behind it, so that we could travel a little more. We do plan on doing some more boat shows this year, heading down south and building a bigger audience, as we were 5 countries and, like I said, over 48 cities. When I looked at the list, I had to stop looking at the list because how many cities are you going to remember the names? And I mean, it's unbelievable. It really is. And now that I see all of that, I have been asking you guys to interact with us, interact with me here on this podcast, because I am going to bring up stuff that you said and mention you. And, a lot of times I'll use your handle until we're in text mode and I could say, hey, this guy his real name's Robert, and he's on YouTube making comments. Or you come out on the boat with us and you tell me what you want me to call you, because I doubt it's going to be your YouTube handle. You know what I mean? Which is Captain of the Kitchen there. Real name Tony, nickname JoJo. So that's how you get to know people. And what better way than to be out here fishing and learning new areas with me? Because I'm going to take you to places I guarantee you haven't fished. And to me, that's a lot of fun. So we can get out there, have a fun day, go for some bass and some blues, do some bottom fishing, whatever you like, whatever you're into. And charters are busy. It really is. It's been a busy season. But this week, like right now, this weather is laid down. There's nothing back here. And it's quiet because of potential wind direction. I'm being blocked up front there. But this whole week, it looks like it's northeast until the end of the week, where it shifts and goes southeast and southwest at the end of the week, towards the weekend maybe. And that's if the forecast is, what I'm looking at holds true to the end of the week. But right now I'm seeing a lot of northeast, east. And, as to last week's episode and all the phrases that we came up with, those are the least favorite fishing winds. So, you look up why and you want to learn why. And it really comes down to a cold front that comes through and the barometric pressure in certain fish. And I can't say the certain fish, because the certain fish apply to the lunar eclipse that we just had. But most species will stop feeding with that cold front comes in and the barometric pressure gets high. And that's what that northeast and east wind does to us. And not just the east wind. The east wind really churns up the waters and makes the conditions out there rough for boating. But think about it. It also makes it rougher for the fish to see the bait. And when the conditions are rougher and the visibility in the water is not so good, that's when you want to catch fish with sense of smell and vibration, because that's how they're going to be eating. So their eating habits change during the conditions. So that causes us to change the way we're fishing to them when you look into the conditions and you can't see. You have to. So these are the things that you can learn along the way. And you guys can go Google, why does a northeast wind affect fishing in the Long Island Sound? Throw that into AI, throw that into Google, and you'll get your answer. It's pretty simple. Now, we just had a lunar eclipse. So we had a blood moon. Now, that blood moon definitely affects the bite, but there's no science behind it saying which fish and why do they stop feeding. So it's really up to us to figure that out as to what species we're fishing for and why they weren't biting. That we had a Tuesday charter that went out in a northeast wind, and the bite had shut off. I mean, we felt like we were lucky to catch any fish that day, and we did, thank God, that we didn't get skunked. But there was a good chance you could have, and you realize that when you're in all your hot spots where, on a normal day you're catching 100 fish there, and then you're catching nothing, and you're saying to get fished out, to the fish leave, where they go, blah, blah, blah. And it's not. It's based on that barometric pressure on the bite that they're not feeding. And how many times have you gotten over a school of bass and said you've dropped everything into them and come up empty-handed? And we all say, we had that 1 week in the beginning of the season. It was Lockjaw Thursday. We got shirts. There's going to be shirts made. There's Lockjaw Thursday. There's the Rain Blitz of 2025. We have so many great nicknames written down on the captain's log that we're going to have some fun with this for sure. And the lunar eclipse, that was the last lunar eclipse of 2025. So I think we had 2 of them. And this one wasn't visible to anybody in the Americas. That's why I didn't post and talk about it, because you weren't going to be able to see it. All right, you only were able to see this if you were in Asia and Western Australia, and some visibility in Africa and other parts of Australia, or New Zealand, in that area, if I'm saying it correctly. But I know it was Africa, had a little view of it. But we weren't in the Americas. We weren't going to see it. So didn't mention bringing it up and putting pictures and talking about it on Facebook and making a big deal about it, because we couldn't see it. So we couldn't see it. Does it affect our fishing? These are all the questions we have. Speaking of questions, one of the biggest questions we get this year, another T-shirt, where's the bunker? Ayo, where's the bunker? So, get a lot of comments from people asking me if I've seen the bunker and seen the pods and seen, I see the osprey catching fish. I see them dive into the water and come up with a fish. Are they coming up with butterfish? Are they coming up with spot? Are they coming up with bunker? They're flying away with it. I see them leave with it, but I don't know what it is. And I'm not, I haven't taken the binoculars out to zoom in on them while they have it. And maybe I should. Then I could be able to identify the species. But is there bunker here? I'm sure there is. Are we seeing pods of adult bunker? I haven't seen that many pods of adult bunker this year. There were some trips where I headed west and headed far west, coming to you, towards you, Manny, that I ran across pods along the way, and they were small pods, the size of the boat, size of the width of the boat. 10, they were 9 feet wide. And where are the bunker this year? I'll tell you what is here, and we talked about it last week. Now that I mentioned it, I got a ton of comments about it, and people are saying they get down their shirts, they're everywhere, these damn lantern flies, and that happens. All of a sudden you see a bug or a thing that you never saw before, and it invades us. It's here. It got through customs. Somebody brought it here. It's something. It's usually how they get here. And that's why customs does their job of checking fruits and foods and stuff that comes through, because people bring back all kinds of meats and fish. And I see things that come through customs based on the show, and I just can't believe it's things people come back and bring here to eat. And I look at it and it's like, there's no way I'm eating that. And like dried fish and meat and, oh, God, please. That is just not my thing. But I'll tell you what, is my thing. Diet Coke. If it kills me, it kills me. What are you going to do? Got to have something you love, something to enjoy. So, this year we caught more spot than we caught bunker, but we caught more spot than ever and used spot as bait. And I got to say, even talking with some of the guys here at the dock, it's just so much cleaner and easier to use when you hook them and put them in. And snagging treble hooks with bunker. How many times you bring them up, you get blood all over yourself. They're splashing around. There's blood everywhere. And it gets pretty messy with the spot. It's really not. You hook them like a fish. You take the hook out. You put them in your live well. And then you're putting it through their nose or, however you're hooking them to put them out. We'll make a few videos. We haven't done that yet, but I will make a few videos of how we, the 3 or 4 different ways that we hook the live bait, putting it out to catch the bass when we do. So maybe we'll do that this week because we're going to look for the stripers this week. We'll let you know how we do. This week we did good on the cocktail blues, but no gator blues. Just because we didn't get gator blues doesn't mean they weren't there. We actually had bluefish. I almost thought, I pulled out the GoPro and videotaped it, and I almost thought we were getting, a pot of bunker. I saw some tail splashes. I said, well, Corey, what do we see here? What's going on? We got it right behind the boat. Boom. And then I saw it was blues. So we had a super strike tied up on one of the spinning rods, and we had a charter for bottom fishing. So everybody's using bait casters and dropping weights down to the bottom and bottom fishing, right? And catching cocktail blues too. And I throw the super strike out into them, and this thing is just getting binged around out there. It wasn't coming tight, but it was getting, you saw it just getting chased and hit and pushed and shoved and everything but, bit in half. And because they were, they were skinny cocktail blues. They weren't the big fat, at least the fat heavy ones. And the minute I switched it up and I put on a wire leader because I knew it was the blues, and they're tackle busters and they're going to rip the line in half. And, once I threw out something similar to this, I was able to hand the rod to somebody and say, here, reel that bluefish in. And we can show you here in the video probably. I was passing off the RH rod, my favorite, that I always tell you. RH and the Stratic, one of my favorite setups. So if I got to throw into anything, that's usually what I'm throwing into. In fact, when we pulled up to the spot that we were fishing, me and Tony, I grabbed the first rod. I didn't even care what I grabbed because I knew it was tied up. I really grabbed based on lure, and I grabbed one of the rods that had this lure on it, okay, because I knew that they're jumping out of the water. They're feeding on spearing. And it was a Harrier rod with a BG, like a BG 3000 on it, which was perfect. And it was nice. It's decent bend. That Harrier rod's a little stiffer than, what I like. I'd rather see the RH rod bent in half and, really get to hold on and feel this fish as you bring it in. Where the Harrier is a little tougher. It's definitely, probably, I got to look at it, but it's probably medium heavy. It's not, it's not as flexible as the RH. And then I realized, I'm watching the video and I'm like, it felt a lot tougher than it was. And then I'm like, oh, it's the Harrier rod. That's why. So my fault. I grabbed the wrong rod. But I didn't, because I grabbed any rod, threw into him, and caught the fish. That was the objective. So mission accomplished. And it doesn't matter which rod we had to throw, or the size of the setup. We would have caught them. And we did. And that was fun. They're great fish, great eating fish. So I said, I'm going to Tony's house. In the video, I said, I'm coming to Tony's house to eat dinner. He's making Spanish Max. And I'm sure he has an episode now up and available of him making the Spanish mackerel. So they're out. They're here. If you want to go get them, hit me up. If you comment in these videos, you are going to be selected at one point to come out here and fish with us for sure. And we ask that you share this with your buddies. Smash the like button, make some comments, and share the video. Get it out there. It's in a ton of Facebook groups. Lots is going on. I remember in birthday time, I was telling you I was at, 1,200 followers or something. Now I'm at 5,300 on Facebook. And it's growing. They turned that account into a digital creator account. I actually had a nice comment that they're promoting our videos based on the quality of them. That Facebook reached out, said that we are actually promoting your videos in feeds based on the quality of your content. And I screenshotted that. So that's something you say. That's just a nice thing to hear and see. And again, you put a little pride and hard work into something. You don't know where it's going to go and what it's going to do. I do. I know where it's going. Working on the next big project for 2026. And, the fishing club is big enough. Trust me, that's a big enough project. But we're taking it to the next level. So, very excited. Can't wait until sometime in 2026 to announce it. Maybe we'll announce it at the boat show. That might be a good time. We'll figure that out. That's a few months away. What is it? September. So we got October, November, December, January. So that's 4 months away. That's really not that bad. And summer's not over yet, guys. Let's get out there. Look at this. I'm sitting. This guy's coming down now. I see a lot of traffic down here coming down to get on the boats. I'm sure kids are going to get out of school today, and some of the parents are going to say, hey, let's get out there. We can get out today and go fishing. Maybe I'll see if my kids want to jump on the boat later and go catch some blues. We'll get on some bass for this week's charter. Only because the wind died down. And you got to jump on these windows, especially with this week. I'm seeing double digits with north, northeast, east. And not the greatest. Just because it's not the greatest to get out into the sound, that's where I feel like me and Corey and people in our area are so blessed. Like Andrew and the guys. Big shout out to the Windcoat Fuel Dock. A lot of new staff over there now. You got Charlotte with Will, and a lot of the other kids have gone to school. Declan's gone, and who else? And Shannon's gone. So you lose a bunch of kids to college, and then they replace and drop in a whole new bunch, and they're doing a great job over there. So I always recommend going over to Windcoat and getting good gas, and I say that because I've been getting gas there for years, and I've never had a problem. So pass that along. That's all I'm doing, passing it along. And if you're a Pepsi distributor, I hate no one. But I'm still going to drink Diet Coke on my boat. You can come fish with me anytime. So there you have it, Facebook. The question was asked and answered. And I answered it on Facebook. And I thought it was great. I really did. And keep those comments coming, guys. Episode 48 on the boat. I mean, I'm getting cooked in the sun here today. I got sunblock on. I don't care, so I'm loving it. But I did plan on wearing my Bay Rats and Buoys sweatshirt today because it was going to be cooler down here this morning. And it was a little cooler. You know, you get out in the morning, get on the boat. You know, we've been leaving. It's been in the 50s when we leave early in the morning. And, you know, we're out here at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's 57 degrees. You get down here, and it's sweatshirt. But I'm still wearing shorts. Corey's in his Grundens. He's got a sweatshirt, his hood on. And then by midday, it's 75 degrees. Even by 10 o'clock, it's 70 degrees. And I'm back in shorts and a T-shirt. And sometimes I'll leave the sweatshirt on. It depends. But this time of the year right now, this is perfect weather, guys. Get out there, enjoy it. Love seeing you guys comment on the videos online. You guys are awesome. Keep it coming. Going to invite some of you guys out on the boat. 4 weeks away from the first anniversary of Bay Rats and Buoys, where we will start giving away stuff for the anniversary. It's going to be awesome. We got some cool sponsors and some great gifts for you guys. Maybe I'll start to show some of that stuff. But share this video and get involved. That's all we could ask. Start interacting. Love you guys, and thanks to all the Facebook admins that help promote the video. You guys are awesome. Let's keep it going. Wishing everybody bent rods, tight lines, and I'll see you out on the water. Captain Gaige signing off. Over and out.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. Be sure to visit sandcitycharter.com and follow Captain Gaige on all our social media channels.